Doing well. If you're just tuning in, we'll let a few more people attend. But thank you for joining this webinar. It's the third in our series that we've hosted over the last few weeks. At Thrive, we've had quite the busy summer with two acquisitions. The first being Guider, where we ran a webinar last week on how we're integrating a leading coaching and mentoring solution into the Thrive learning platform. And then more recently, we acquired Huler, which is a smart intranet provider really driving the employee experience. So in the next 15 minutes or so, I want to really talk about how a connected employee experience is really quite key in the era of AI. So we're going to dive into some data just to begin with, dive into some of our plans and just touch on the platform side of things as well. I'm sure there are many Thrive customers on the webinar, so thanks for joining. Please fire questions into the chat as we work through this. And yeah, let's get into it. So many of you on the call will work in employee experience, engagement, HR, L&D, comms, etc. And I think we all know what makes a great experience. And I think that's really starting to change and evolve in the era of AI. There's some key themes on here, right? Things like supporting career growth, coaching, really driving autonomy and agency. And in the era of AI, we're really having to rethink and reevaluate how we approach the employee experience. There are so many different tools and applications that many colleagues are overwhelmed with. You might have your Teams chat over here or your Slack chat over here. You might go to your HR system, performance management tools, LMS, project management tools, and they're all kind of scattered around. And I think sometimes that can impair and restrict some of the things that we know truly makes a great employee experience. So with that in mind, Mercer have recently done a study, which is quite interesting to look into, about how it's becoming harder when it comes to building really amazing employee experiences. And some of the stats from the survey are quite interesting. At number one, and probably least surprising, is that 37% of HR professionals are saying they have limited resources. We often see now headcount from a HR, L&D, employee experience, even internal comms, headcount planning going down and less resources there. And we're seeing a series of layoffs at the minute because I guess many kind of C-suite executives are seeing that in the era of AI, we can create more efficiencies and we might need less people to do the roles than before. And obviously there is some truth in that for some roles, but not every role. So that's quite interesting that 37% of people believe that limited resources are affecting that. And, you know, if we start to think about the three, which I want to laser in on just now, suboptimal HR technology, ineffective internal operations, and lastly, unengaging internal communications. I think at the top, you know, we're still seeing clunky learning management systems, quite disjointed kind of HR technology providers. And that's really affecting the employee experience. There's nothing worse than going to a work-based application that you have to use every day, and it feels nothing like a consumer-grade product, a product that you might use in your personal lives. In the rise of AI now with prompting different LLMs, whether it be ChatGPT, Gemini, myself, I love Perplexity. They feel so natural and easy to use. They're fast, they're accessible on every device. And most importantly, they're integrated and connected to every single application that I use most days. So that's definitely quite clear that that needs to change. Secondly, the really important stat for me was the 15% have unengaging internal communications. Over recent weeks, I've spent so much time with heads of learning, heads of HR, heads of internal communications. And there's definitely an appetite from employees to have more engaging communications. I think if you think you're on this call today, just think about your own internal communications and what that looks like. For many, I suspect, does the CEO push out an update via a nice 3 to 5 minute video with translations and easy to access on every device? Or does the CEO push out a long-winded email or a clunky article, which is full of text and great words and updates, but it's not very engaging? So I think if we start to look internally, like how is that internal comms actually landing? There's so many different tools now to build content quickly and deploy it in an engaging way that really needs to start to evolve. And I think with the tools that I'm about to show you, we can definitely start to do that. Now, I guess a question that we've been asking since the two acquisitions of Huler and Guider is, how do we make it easier to get work done? And how do we drive more productivity? With all of these applications and new tools and AI everywhere, there's so much AI jargon at the minute, like where people are inserting AI powered X when in reality it might just be a LLM wrapper and it's not actually true AI. But how do we make it easier to get work done? Well, with the two acquisitions that I just want to touch on, we are in that era of AI. And we believe here at Thrive that it's time that the workplace tools and the workplace technology that our employees are using every day catch up. So what we've been doing over the last few weeks, and for the customers that might be on the call today, this is a glimpse of the future with Thrive. We're starting to reimagining an experience whereby employees head to a portal like this, like Thrive, and all of the critical applications that you use every single day are there configured for you, per job role, per audience, in your language, all personalized to you. We believe this will be the front door to all applications that you use every single day. And it's where you'll begin your day and perhaps where you'll end your day. And what we start to see within this workspace here is having emails, calendar, communication tools, all fully integrated. You can see on the top left there, you've got your emails, which you can see alongside perhaps some mandatory training, which might be overdue, alongside your calendar and your messages and your analytics. So we're really wanting to start to evolve into a place where all of the tools that you use daily are in one place for you. And that it's not fragmented, because the biggest problem that we see when we speak to customers and potential customers looking at new HR technology tools is that you're in an LMS, you're completing some learning, or you're on a program, or you're doing some general learning with some content providers in there. You've then got to jump out to another application. If you want to book a holiday, you're in a totally different place to do that. If you want to check some latest analytics because you're in that area of the business, again, you've got to click out to Power BI or Domo or Tableau or whatever you might use. So we're trying to reimagine a world whereby all of the applications that an employee uses every single day are in a personalized workspace. If I move on slightly, this will totally be customized. We really appreciate that every customer is on a different journey when it means their employee experience. Some customers want an employee experience which is focused just on learning, some learning and comms. Others want a fully integrated experience with their application. So the idea here that we're trying to build is a really flexible interface that both the employer and the organization can control, but also employees can drag and drop really easily in terms of what they want to see. So if I want my meetings and my calendar to sit at the top right, but I want something else at the bottom left, the customers will have full control over that as well, both at the org level and at end user level. So what we're really loving is that idea where I can see my calendar, my productivity tools, all in one single place. If I move to the next stage, we're really also starting to integrate mentoring into here as well. So with the acquisition of Guider, we're seeing being matched to internal mentors and coaches alongside your formal learning, alongside the things that you need to do next. So within this environment here, we've also got things like your Salesforce integrated. So if I'm a sales rep at X company, I can see the learning that I must do, my upcoming meetings, and also an update from my Salesforce in terms of things that I've been working on there. But probably what's most interesting with all of this is that we have our AI assistant, Kiki, fully integrated across the applications. So imagine a world whereby you can prompt Kiki, or whatever you might call it internally, with a question, and it starts to understand the different applications that you use. So for example, with SharePoint, you might say, what's our maternity policy? And of course, that might sit inside SharePoint, and that would be exposed directly through our AI assistant on the front end of the platform. So I think what we're starting to see is a way of evolving the employee experience, bringing applications that people use every single day together in a slick consumer grade workspace, which can be fully controlled by the organization, but also incorporating some flexibility from the end user themselves as well. And naturally, we're seeing this from both the web application, but also the app application as well. So if you start to think about the web experience, as you just saw, the mobile experience as well will have the same applications integrated. Kiki as an AI assistant will be able to be prompted. And you can do everything from your learning to receive your communications to jumping out to critical applications. So it really becomes the all-in-one app for an employee experience, which is what we're looking to design. Now, of course, many customers want things separate for various different reasons, and that absolutely can happen as well. So, if you wanted this to be just laser focused on learning and development, it absolutely can be. There's no issues there whatsoever. However, if you want to start to evolve and incorporate other use cases into this, then that's absolutely a possibility too. So what we're really moving towards as well with Guider is having the mentoring aspect integrated. So the aspect here that we've done with the integration is scheduling those mentoring sessions, doing live video calls, and even having instant messaging, very, very similar to WhatsApp style messaging, fully integrated into the platform. And then we really start to, close the loop, I guess, on kind of mandatory learning, informal learning, mentoring and coaching, plus comms, all in one single interface. And, I guess many of you on the call today, you might have intranets, you might have SharePoints or different intranet solutions, different comms tools, different HR systems. If you just take a minute to think about what that employee experience might look like, it's probably quite messy, both for the individual and admins, going to multiple different platforms to manage multiple different applications, when what we're trying to do through integrations and connectors is all bring it into one single place. And as much as there's a consolidation argument from a cost perspective, it's all about enhancing the employee experience and making it easier to access the applications they need to use every day, but also easier to discover and find knowledge, which is most important to them. If I just move out of this screen ever so slightly, what you'll start to see is, you've been seeing those mock-ups there. This is what it currently looks like today for a Thrive customer. This is Deciem, one of our skincare customers. They've got all of their news in one place. They've got their latest content around celebrations. Moving down, they'll have leadership content from LinkedIn Learning. They might have different applications that they're quick linking out to. So for example, they use Lattice as their performance management tool. They use Dayforce as their HRIS. So in the new world, we envisage an experience where all those applications are deeply, deeply integrated. And that's what the technology teams are currently working towards. And I think when we're speaking to some of the Huler customers, one thing that really stood out to me is the analytics side of this as well. So right now, there'll be many applications that are used across each organization that's on this call. You'll have HR tools, CRM, productivity, project management, sales-based platforms that you're using. But sometimes you can't see the true analytics in one single place in terms of, a CRM has been bought in a specific market, or you've deployed a talent or performance management tool in a different market. And with that, it means you don't really know the true click-through rate and the daily analytics in terms of how that's actually working. So with our analytics now, what we're going to move to is a place whereby people can easily get the analytics in terms of what's being most used, what's being most adopted. If this one platform isn't getting many clicks, when this is the daily workspace tool for every single employee, then is there not an argument to turn off that tool as well? And you'll be able to create, KPIs and flags around that. Within Thrive, you have lots of analytics tools to remind you and set reminders when things haven't been done. So you can set up alerts. So if certain platforms aren't getting the engagement that you want, you can actually set up alerts around that as well. So we really see an opportunity to use data here as well to really help prove that, is this employee experience actually working? Because if you've got a central place where all applications are fully integrated into this, using the data to prove what's working and what's not is really going to help as well. Just going to move back to those slides just to help bring that to life again. There we go. So that's really what we wanted to share today, a new vision for the workspace where all applications are fully integrated. I'm sure there's lots of questions from the Thrive customers that might be on the call today. So please reach out directly to your account directors if there's any questions around what this means for you in terms of the new experience, the new landing page, and the new vision, because there's going to be lots of change. But over the next coming weeks and months, we're going to be sharing lots of workshop approaches, enablement to really help customers evolve into this new way of thinking, because we really see this as being the future of the employee experience, evolve into a new place where all applications are easily accessed by very, very intelligent federated search for all of the business critical applications. that you might use. So I'm going to pause there, and if there's any questions, just going to check if there are any. If not, we'll dive off. Just going to chat quickly. Okay. Not too many. Perfect. Well, if there's no more questions, we'll leave it there. But thank you everybody for joining. And as I said, reach out to your account director if you are a Thrive customer, because I'm sure this might have sparked some questions or some curiosity, as we're really happy to get into the detail and share what this might mean for you in the future. But thank you, everybody. Have a good day.